There is a tree growing right now in the tropical regions of this world that contains more protein than eggs, more essential amino acids than quinoa, and more vitamins than almost any vegetable you can name. Its leaves have been used as medicine for over 5,000 years. Ancient civilizations, from India to Egypt to Greece, recognized its remarkable healing properties. And yet, if you walk into any grocery store in America or Europe today, you will almost certainly not find it anywhere on the shelves. I spent over 30 years working in agricultural genetics, and I have seen countless examples of nutritionally superior plants being pushed aside in favor of crops that are easier to patent, easier to process, and easier to sell. But the story of this particular tree might be the most frustrating example I have ever encountered, because this is not some obscure plant that nobody has heard of. This tree feeds millions of people across Africa and Asia every single day. It grows faster than almost any other food crop on Earth. Every single part of it is edible. And modern science has confirmed what traditional healers knew for millennia. This plant has genuine, measurable health benefits that could help address some of the most pressing nutritional challenges of our time. The tree I am talking about is called Moringa oleifera, and the more you learn about it, the more you will wonder why it has been kept from you for so long. Let me start with the numbers, because the numbers are what first caught my attention when I began researching this plant decades ago. According to research from the University of California at Davis, moringa leaves contain nearly 30% protein by dry weight. To put that in perspective, legumes like beans and lentils, which are considered excellent plant protein sources, typically contain around 20 to 25% protein. Eggs contain about 13% protein. Quinoa, which has been marketed as a superfood for years, contains about 14% protein. But moringa leaves, when dried and powdered, deliver nearly 30% pure protein. And here is what makes that protein even more remarkable. Moringa is what scientists call a complete protein, meaning it contains all 9 essential amino acids that your body cannot produce on its own. You have to get these amino acids from food, and most plant foods are missing one or more of them. That is why nutritionists often tell vegetarians to combine different foods, like rice and beans, to get a complete amino acid profile. But moringa delivers all 9 essential amino acids in a single food. Research published in the International Journal of Food Science found that the amino acids in moringa leaves are comparable to those found in meat proteins. The study specifically identified threonine, methionine, isoleucine, lysine, and valine in concentrations that match or exceed what you would find in animal products. But protein is just the beginning. Moringa leaves are extraordinarily rich in vitamins and minerals. Studies have shown that moringa contains approximately 10 times more vitamin A than carrots, 7 times more vitamin C than oranges, 17 times more calcium than milk, and 15 times more potassium than bananas. It is also high in iron, magnesium, and zinc. The iron content is particularly significant for populations that struggle with anemia, which affects hundreds of millions of people worldwide, especially women and children in developing countries. A single serving of moringa powder can provide a significant portion of your daily nutritional requirements. And unlike synthetic vitamin supplements, the nutrients in moringa come packaged with fiber, antioxidants, and other beneficial compounds that help your body absorb and utilize them more effectively. Now, you might be thinking that these numbers sound too good to be true. I thought the same thing when I first encountered them. But the research has been conducted by reputable institutions around the world, and the results have been consistent. Carrie Waterman, a natural products chemist at UC Davis who has studied moringa for nearly a decade, put it this way: "My first impression was that it is too good to be true." But after years of research, she concluded that moringa deserves to be on any list of the top 10 plants that will help feed the world over the next 100 years. So how did this remarkable plant come to exist? And why have most people in the Western world never heard of it? Moringa oleifera is native to the foothills of the Himalayas in northern India. Its use in traditional medicine was first documented in the ancient Vedic texts approximately 5,000 years ago. In Sanskrit, the plant is called shigru, and Ayurvedic practitioners have used it for millennia to treat a wide range of conditions. The ancient texts describe moringa as capable of preventing and treating hundreds of different ailments. While modern science has not verified all of these traditional claims, researchers have confirmed many of them. From India, moringa spread throughout the tropical world. It was cultivated in ancient Egypt, where it was prized for its oil. Egyptian women used moringa oil to protect their skin from the harsh desert sun, and archaeologists have found traces of it in tombs dating back thousands of years. The Greeks and Romans used it as well, and it is mentioned in the writings of ancient physicians who recognized its medicinal properties. Over the centuries, moringa became a staple food and medicine across Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Caribbean. In the Philippines, it is called malunggay and is added to soups and stews. Filipino mothers have traditionally eaten malunggay to increase their breast milk production, a practice that modern research has shown to be effective. In West Africa, it is known by dozens of local names and is used to supplement the diets of nursing mothers and malnourished children. In India, the young seed pods are called drumsticks and are a common ingredient in curries and sambar. The tree is so deeply embedded in Indian culture that it appears in ancient poetry and religious texts. What makes moringa particularly valuable in these regions is not just its nutritional content, but its resilience. The tree grows incredibly fast, sometimes reaching 12 feet in its first year. I have seen moringa trees that were planted as seeds grow tall enough to harvest within just 3 months. It can survive in poor soil and with minimal water, thriving in conditions that would kill most other food crops. The tree has deep roots that can access groundwater even during extended droughts. It tolerates sandy, rocky, and even slightly saline soils that would be useless for conventional agriculture. And it produces leaves, pods, flowers, and seeds almost year-round in tropical climates. The leaves can be harvested repeatedly without killing the tree, and regular pruning actually encourages more vigorous growth. For communities facing food insecurity, moringa represents a reliable source of nutrition that requires very little investment to cultivate. A single tree can provide enough leaves to supplement a family's diet for years. I have visited moringa farms in Kenya and Tanzania, and I have seen with my own eyes how this tree transforms communities. In one village I visited, a women's cooperative had planted moringa trees along the borders of their fields. They harvested the leaves regularly, dried them in the sun, and ground them into powder. This powder was added to porridge for children, mixed into soups for the elderly, and sold at local markets for additional income. The women told me that since they started growing moringa, their children got sick less often and had more energy for school. The Gambia, a small country in West Africa, has integrated moringa into its public health programs. Health workers there use moringa leaves as a protein and iron supplement for mothers and infants. People with diabetes chew the bitter tasting seeds to help control their blood sugar levels. These are not folk remedies based on superstition. They are practical applications of a food that has been proven to deliver real nutritional benefits. Similar programs exist in Senegal, Niger, and other West African countries, where moringa has become an important tool in the fight against childhood malnutrition. International aid organizations have begun incorporating moringa into their nutrition programs, recognizing that this locally grown food is more sustainable and culturally appropriate than imported supplements. Modern scientific research has begun to validate what traditional healers have known for centuries. Studies conducted at UC Davis found that mice fed a high-fat diet along with concentrated moringa extract lost weight, improved their glucose tolerance, and did not develop fatty liver disease, unlike mice that did not receive moringa. The researchers identified specific compounds in moringa called isothiocyanates that appear to be responsible for these metabolic benefits. These same compounds are found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and kale, but moringa contains them in much higher concentrations. Professor Peter Havel at the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine tested moringa in a rat model of type 2 diabetes and found that it delayed the onset of diabetes by approximately 5 months. In human terms, that could translate to a delay of 10 to 15 years. Additional studies have shown that moringa can help reduce cholesterol levels, lower blood pressure, and protect the liver from damage caused by toxins and medications. Delaying diabetes by 15 years is not a minor benefit. It could mean the difference between needing a kidney transplant at age 45 or living into your 60s without one. It could prevent heart attacks, amputations, and blindness. And yet, despite these promising results, moringa remains virtually unknown in Western medicine. So why has this tree been ignored by the mainstream food industry? Why is it not on the shelves of every grocery store and health food shop in America? The answer, as with so many of these forgotten foods, comes down to economics and power. Moringa is what agricultural scientists call an orphan crop. Unlike corn, wheat, rice, and soybeans, which receive billions of dollars in research funding and government subsidies, moringa has been largely neglected by crop breeding programs. There is no moringa lobby in Washington. There are no multinational corporations with a financial interest in promoting moringa consumption. The plant grows easily from seeds or cuttings, which means farmers do not need to buy new seeds every year. It thrives without expensive fertilizers or pesticides, which means chemical companies have no incentive to support its cultivation. The global fertilizer industry generates over $200 billion in revenue annually. The pesticide industry adds another $60 billion. The seed industry, dominated by a handful of corporations that control the majority of the world's commercial seed supply, generates tens of billions more. These industries have spent decades building a food system that depends on their products. A plant like moringa, which grows vigorously in poor soil without chemical inputs and can be propagated indefinitely from cuttings, represents a direct threat to their business model. Consider this. India produces over 1 million tons of moringa pods every year, making it the world's largest producer. Yet most of that production stays within India or is exported to other developing countries. The global market for moringa leaf powder is expected to exceed $6 billion by 2025, but that market is still tiny compared to the markets for commodity crops like corn and soybeans. The infrastructure for processing, packaging, and distributing moringa to Western consumers simply does not exist on a large scale. There is also the challenge of shelf life. Fresh moringa leaves wilt quickly after harvest, which makes them difficult to transport over long distances. The leaves can be dried and powdered, but this requires processing facilities that many small farmers in developing countries do not have access to. The food industry has spent decades optimizing supply chains for crops that can be stored for months or years. Moringa does not fit neatly into that system, but perhaps the most significant barrier is simply awareness. Most consumers in America and Europe have never heard of moringa. They do not know what it tastes like, how to cook with it, or why they should bother trying it. The superfood marketing machine that turned quinoa from an obscure Andean grain into a global phenomenon has not yet embraced moringa with the same enthusiasm. And without that marketing push, moringa remains confined to specialty health food, stores, and online retailers. I find this situation deeply frustrating because moringa has the potential to address some of the most serious nutritional challenges facing humanity. We live in a world where nearly 800 million people do not have enough food to eat, while simultaneously, over 2 billion people are overweight or obese. We have a food system that produces plenty of calories, but not enough nutrients. Moringa could help bridge that gap. Carrie Waterman at UC Davis has pointed out something remarkable about moringa. It has the potential to simultaneously treat both malnutrition and obesity. The plant provides the amino acids and proteins needed to build strong muscles and bones, while its phytochemicals help the body metabolize sugar more efficiently, so it is not stored as fat. In a world struggling with both hunger and metabolic disease, that is an extraordinary combination of benefits. The good news is that you do not have to wait for the food industry to catch up. You can start incorporating moringa into your diet today. Moringa powder is available online and in many health food stores. It has a slightly earthy, peppery flavor that works well in smoothies, soups, and sauces. You can also find moringa tea, moringa oil, and even fresh moringa leaves if you live in an area with a significant South Asian or African population. If you live in a warm climate, you can grow moringa yourself. The tree is remarkably easy to cultivate. It can be grown from seeds or from cuttings, and it grows so fast that you can begin harvesting leaves within a few months of planting. To grow from seed, simply soak the seeds overnight and plant them about an inch deep in well-draining soil. Keep the soil moist, but not waterlogged, and you should see sprouts within 1 to 2 weeks. The seedlings grow rapidly and can be transplanted outdoors once they reach about a foot tall. In tropical and subtropical regions, a single tree can produce leaves continuously for years. The tree responds well to pruning, so you can keep it at a manageable height while encouraging bushier growth and more leaf production. Even in temperate climates, moringa can be grown as an annual or kept in containers and brought indoors during winter. The tree will die back when temperatures drop below freezing, but the roots can survive mild winters and regrow in spring. I have been growing moringa in my own garden for over 15 years now. Every morning during the growing season, I walk out to my trees and harvest a handful of fresh leaves. I add them to my breakfast smoothie or toss them into whatever I am cooking for dinner. The taste is mild enough that it blends into almost any dish, but the nutritional boost is significant. At my age, maintaining muscle mass and bone density is a constant concern. Moringa helps me do that without relying on expensive supplements or processed protein powders. The story of moringa is ultimately a story about what we value and who gets to decide. For 5,000 years, this plant has nourished communities across the tropical world. It has been a source of food, medicine, and livelihood for countless generations. And yet, because it does not fit the business model of industrial agriculture, it has been systematically ignored by the institutions that shape our food system. I believe that is starting to change. The African Orphan Crops Consortium, a partnership between African scientists and international researchers, has sequenced the moringa genome and is working to develop improved varieties that can produce even higher yields. This is significant because moringa has never received the kind of systematic breeding attention that has been lavished on crops like corn and wheat. With modern genomic tools, scientists can now identify the genes responsible for moringa's nutritional properties and work to enhance them. UC Davis and other universities are conducting clinical trials to better understand how moringa affects human health. These trials are essential for getting moringa recognized by mainstream medical institutions and potentially incorporated into treatment protocols for conditions like diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Small farmers in California's Central Valley are beginning to grow moringa for local markets, recognizing its potential as a drought-tolerant crop in an era of increasing water scarcity. Hmong American farmers outside of Fresno have been particularly successful, selling fresh moringa leaves at farmers markets to communities that already know and appreciate this remarkable plant. Ruth Dahlquist Willard, a small farms advisor with the University of California Cooperative Extension, is working with these farmers to develop efficient methods for drying and processing moringa so they can sell it year-round and tap into the growing health food market. But the most important change will come from people like you, who choose to seek out these forgotten foods and incorporate them into your lives. Every time you buy moringa powder or grow a moringa tree in your backyard, You are participating in a quiet revolution against a food system that has prioritized profit over nutrition for far too long. The real wealth in this world is not measured in dollars or stock prices. It is measured in the health of our bodies, the strength of our communities, and the resilience of our food systems. Moringa represents all of these things. It is a plant that has sustained human communities for 5,000 years, a plant that grows freely and abundantly, a plant that asks for nothing but sun and water, and gives back nutrition that rivals anything produced by industrial agriculture. The fact that most people in the Western world have never heard of it tells us something important about whose interests our food system really serves. Have you ever tried moringa? Have you cooked with it or grown it in your garden? I would love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. And if this story has opened your eyes to how our food system really works, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit from knowing the truth about this remarkable plant that the industry does not want you to know about.